In the early 1900s, America was racing forward. Trains ruled the land, but the skies were empty. A few daring men like the Wright brothers tested fragile machines that crashed as often as they flew. People laughed at the idea of flying across the nation, but inside America, a storm of ambition was rising. Could planes connect the nation faster than any train? Could the skies replace the railroads? The U.S. government wanted faster mail delivery. So mail planes were launched and pilots risked their lives in fog, storms, and darkness. Many never returned. But each flight created a new possibility. The idea spread. If mail could fly, why not people? Why not connect New York to Chicago, Chicago to Los Angeles in hours instead of days? This was no longer just a dream. It was a challenge America had to face. Now check out these other videos about the pioneers who dared to fly. The first airplanes were dangerous. Planes were small, noisy, and unreliable. Engines failed, wings snapped, and storms ripped across the sky. Pilots were called suicide daredevils. Families refused to step into planes. Airlines struggled to survive. Yet pioneers refused to stop. In New York, businessmen invested in air companies. In Seattle, Boeing engineers built stronger aircraft. In Florida and California, airports began to rise like gateways to the future. The conflict was clear. Could airlines prove that they were safe? Could they win the trust of ordinary Americans? Each flight was a gamble. Every crash was a headline. But every successful journey was a step closer to transforming the nation. Suspense grew with every mile flown. Would America rise in the air or fall back to the ground? By the 1920s and 30s, airlines began to grow. Pan American Airways launched flights to Latin America and then across the oceans. Boeing introduced aircraft that carried more passengers more safely and over longer distances. Chicago became the hub of America's skies. New York connected to Los Angeles in less than 24 hours. A miracle compared to train travel, but the road was still dangerous. Weather stations were limited. Radios barely worked. Pilots navigated with maps and stars. The fear of the unknown sky kept tension alive. Would passengers choose speed over safety? Would airlines collapse under the weight of risk? Yet Americans were hungry for progress. They wanted to conquer distance. The race to connect the nation was unstoppable. And that's 1 minute. See you tomorrow. When World War II ended, everything changed. The U.S. military had been pushing aircraft technology to new limits, bigger planes, safer engines, faster speeds. And when the war was over, that technology poured into civilian airlines. Suddenly, America had modern jets, powerful airports, and skilled pilots. It was the beginning of the end for commercial aviation. No longer were airlines just an experimental novelty. They were the future. And as more and more people got on board, Los Angeles, Dallas, and Chicago became major hubs. Coast-to-coast flights were no longer a novelty. They were normal. Families, businessmen, and tourists all over the country got on planes and flew to their destinations. The suspense of history shifted. What was once fear had turned into wonder. Airlines didn't just fly people. They united America. By the 1950s and 1960s, America was transformed. Airlines stitched the nation together. A farmer in Kansas could reach New York in hours. A businessman in Chicago could close a deal in Los Angeles by the evening. Air travel created a faster economy, a closer society, and a stronger America. The skies were no longer empty. They were highways of progress. Airlines gave America speed, power, and global reach. From the first fragile flights to the mighty jets of Boeing, the journey was filled with suspense, risk, and action. But in the end, the story of airlines was not just about planes. It was about America daring to dream, daring to risk, and daring to rise. Airlines didn't just carry people. They carried the future. And that future was written in the skies of America.